Good evening again, kids. So, yesterday we covered Joe Wilkes, not November, July 14th. Long day. It's a fucking Monday. No, July 14th statement to police. And tonight I thought we'd cover the July 15th. Jesus fucking Christ. The July 15th interview with police, which I find really odd. I find a lot of shit in this statement odd here. We're going to dive right in here for a second. I'm sorry. It's been a really long day. Really long day. I typically don't mind Mondays. I'm not your typical person that's like, it's fucking Monday. I love Mondays. I really do. It's a start of a new week. It's a chance for me to get some shit right for a change. It's Wednesdays. Wednesdays fuck with me. Because they're not close enough to the beginning of the week for you to still fix some shit at the end of the week. You know, you can at least celebrate that you survived. No, Wednesday's just stuck in the fucking middle. But today just started out shit and it's ending not much better. So that's what I get. That's what I get. So anyways, so I wanted to go through Joe's July 15th statement to police, his interview with police. Now, what I find interesting is, once again, we've got Sampson, Mucklow, and Leach interviewing Joe. But what I find really interesting here is they once again start to read him his rights, which I find odd, because typically once you've been read your rights, they just remind you of it. You know, may we remind you that you're still, your Miranda rights still apply. Do you still agree to waive these rights? Yes, okay, blah, blah, blah. Typically, that's how it's supposed to go. For them to read him his Miranda rights a second time in as many days is just suspect in and of itself. So that's point number one. Point number two is we've got Mucklow asking him, okay, Joe, when you were inside the house, was there a large dog inside the house or not? Do you recall? And Joe's answer is, I do not recall. Really, Joe? Really? You don't recall big ass mama dog? Now, see, kids, if you've gone to the Justice for David Thorne website, and I'll put that link down below in the description. I'll put the link for this as well down in the description. You can go onto the Justice for David Thorne website, and you can see outside of the sliding glass window is two puppies. Now, Yvonne had a big mama dog, and the mama dog was very aggressive with people she didn't know. Yet, when Yvonne's body was found, this dog was found tied to a tree outside. And he doesn't recall seeing a dog? Really? It gets better. Okay, do you recall if it was tied outside or not? How can he recall if there was a dog tied outside if he can't recall a dog? Mucklow, really? Then he says, I'm pretty sure it was. I thought you didn't recall, Joe. Not even a sentence prior to this, you didn't know shit about a fucking dog. Okay, did it bark when you went in the house or not? No, it did not. And yet he'd only been there once. This dog knew him well enough to not bark at him when it would bark at everybody up to and including the mailman. But it didn't bark at him. Really? Seriously, Joe? You're sticking to this bullshit line? Okay, were there puppies around? Do you recall or not? Small puppies? No. 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 In those evidence pictures, you'll see two puppies sitting outside of the sliding glass door where all the blood is. And he didn't see any puppies? He didn't hear them yipping? Really? He then says, I didn't see nothing but her. How romantic. Oh. Sampson then says something that was unable to be understood. It says UTU, that's what it means, unable to understand. There you go, okay? There you go. You handing him something, Samson? What you handing Joe? What you handing to Joe, Samson? Further on down, page 3. Okay, you mentioned on tape yesterday that you drove around with Dave all day on 331. Funny, considering that David was at work all day on March 31st. Yes, he picked me up from Brent Enoch's house, which is out in Randolph. He explained the situation like 20 times, and he took me up to the Motel Comfort Inn at the Alliance Carnation Mall. Had me go get a room, and then he told me to go get baseball gloves and a knife. Again, pretty fucking specific. And I got the baseball gloves and waited until later on to get the knife because he told me to hurry up. He had some other stuff to do. And then he went driving around and he went and he did his stuff he had to. And then he gets interrupted. They said, "What kind of stuff are you talking about?" Answer, "I don't even know what he had to do." You were with him all fucking day and you had no idea what he had to do? "Did you stay in the car?" He says, He dropped, he took me back out to Randolph at one of my friends, and I told my friend that I wanted to leave, and he asked me why. And I said, because there's some stuff going on that shouldn't be, and my friend wanted me to explain, but I couldn't explain, and I guess Dave had gave specific orders to a few of his friends that were hanging around for me not to leave. Yeah, because Dave really comes across as a Godfather type. I guess it got around town. And then David came and picked me up later on. He took me out there before he went to shoot fighting class. Then he stuttering, picked me up from Brent's house, and Brent, Enoch, and Summer and them were home. They witnessed that he picked me up. I don't recall that. I don't recall that at all. What time was that about, that he picked you up at Brent's house? Do you remember? No, I don't. I'm not even sure. Okay, was it light out or dark out? I don't even remember, sir. Really? You don't remember if it was light or dark out when you got into David Thorne's car? Where else did we hear a narrative like this, kids? That's right, Ryan Hilligoss couldn't fucking remember if it was day or night the last time he saw Teresa. He picked me up from their house and took me out to the mall, and I walked around the mall for a little bit and bought that knife and went to my room and just sat there, and I didn't want to do it, but so he wanted you to do it by 10 o'clock. He always told me, he always used the thing, well, I'll have Josh do it because Josh will do it, and which is Josh McCombie, because me and him was always competitive, and it was like I'd lost my family at the point in time. I was all up on drugs, and that was like the biggest thing. I wanted to be the greatest in his world. You wanted to be the greatest in his world? Little light in the loafers? Not that that's a bad thing, I'm just saying. His number one, and I thought I really was, and he picked me up the next morning at the back or the side of the mall. If you walk through the mall and you go to the food court, he picked me up back there, and then he took me back to Summers, Brent Enoch's house that morning. Okay, was Brent there at the time or not? I'm not sure if he was or he wasn't. Again, very specific on a lot of other details. The baseball gloves, the knife, the this, the that, and yet on these really important details, he's very vague. The fuck is that all about? After, when you were still in the house, after your Yvonne was cut, did you wipe the knife off on a pillowcase on the couch? Fucking leading the witness. Objection, Your Honor, leading the witness. That kind of shit is not allowed. Not by the Reed technique and not by police protocol when interrogating a suspect. He gave him information right there. You just saw Draco. He says, I think I did. Okay, and where did you pay for them back at the, this is about the gloves. And he says, no, I paid for them up at one of the front counters. You want to know why they asked that? Because they found a receipt for gloves purchased at Kmart in days around the time of the murder, but it was in the sporting goods section, not at the front, and it was paid for in cash. And yet that receipt was introduced into evidence as evidence that Joe was telling the truth, which is total bullshit. Just saying. Cash receipts are typically not allowed in a court of law simply because they cannot be verified to have belonged to a specific person. You see what I'm saying? When you purchased the knife, did the girl card you, ask for identification? He says, yes. He says, okay. No, I don't. I'm not sure if she did or she didn't because one of the guys from Randolph that was there, Randolph, knew me. He was up there with his son and they were standing there talking, and I'm not sure if she did or she didn't because he knew how old I was, and we were talking about, me being 18 and staying out of trouble. And what the fuck is going on with this statement? That's a whole lot of bumbling and rambling and bullshit right there, kids. That's padding. He's stalling. What was his name? They call him Spider. He's an older guy. I think it's Bud Webb, but I'm not sure. So he knows you well enough to know how old you are, but you don't know his name? Where did you purchase the Nike clothes at? He said, I've had those for a long time. I thought David made you buy them, Joe. Which is it? The Nike coat wasn't mine, but I left. That was my friend Summers. So you wore your friend's jacket to go kill someone? I think that crosses the boundaries of friendship. I'm not sure. I could be wrong. It could be somewhere in the bylaws, but I'm pretty sure that crosses the boundaries of friendship, Joe. Here, I'm sorry for the stain. I murdered a girl last night. How's your dad? Okay, did Dave give you money to buy new clothes and shoes and stuff? Yes, he did. He gave me $100 to get the room and everything, and then the next morning he gave me like $200, and then he came back and gave me like another $100 or $200 that to get my clothes and new shoes and stuff. So right here, yesterday we talked about he gave him $400. Now he's giving him $500. But all they've ever been able to prove is $300. So which is it? And why do you not know if it was $100 or $200 that he gave you a couple weeks later? I'm sorry, but I'm going to remember if somebody hands me $1 or $200. It's all about the Benjamins. And when did you purchase the clothes? After the murder or before? What, the new clothes? Yeah, the new clothes. He says, I never got them. I used the money for other things. Interesting. What other things? The knife, when you purchased it, was it in a plastic package? Yes, it was. Okay, do you remember the make of it or not? He says, no, I don't. I just know it was a little black knife and it was a lock blade. Fuck what? A lock blade? A lock blade? Are you fucking kidding me? Okay, kids, most lock blades are not very long. Just saying. I don't know how it is in the state of Ohio. I know here in the state of New Mexico, the law is you cannot own a lock blade knife if the blade is any longer than the width of your palm. That is not going to do shit in the realm of slicing a woman's throat open. It sure as hell is not going to do shit in the realm of almost decapitating her. And he bought a lock blade? Which is interesting considering that the knife introduced as evidence at trial was a kitchen knife. Okay, I just wanted to rehash what we talked about yesterday, and I know it's kind of difficult, okay, but you said after you cut Yvonne, did she talk? Did she say something to you? Yes, she looked at me and she asked me why I did it, and I told her David wanted me to. Okay, and she got up to run towards the door. How far did she make it, Joe? She made it to the door, and then she stopped and walked back with a fucking neck wound where her head is hanging off her spinal column. Are you fucking kidding me? And she came back over and looked at me and was like, why'd you do it? With severed vocal cords? She asked this. And I told her, and she fell. What? Clearly, Joe failed human anatomy, as did the cops. Okay, I just wanted to, relax for a minute. Sampson then says, relax. Leach says, just relax. You're all right. Relax. Why are you guys telling him to relax? What's going on in this interview? And here's the thing, kids. This was back in 1999. Most interviews at that time were videotaped, and yet none of the interviews in this case were videotaped, and only the last interview for the majority of the witnesses was audio taped. So now we get towards the end of the interview. Okay, Joe, do you still offer this test, this statement of your own free will? He says, yes. Okay. Have the detectives of the Alliance Police Department or anybody else promised you anything for your test, for your statement? He says no. First of all, I want to know why they are not using the word testimony. Why does he keep stopping right there? And then it cuts off again. Nothing beyond that. No, this has been the statement of Joseph Wilkes. It's the 15th of July, 1999. It's 4:30 p.m. We now conclude this interview. None of that. Where is it? Where the fuck is it? I see my son in the back trying to creep along. It's adorable. So, yeah, this is fucking weird. This is just weird. Now, I've got more on Joe to talk about. Not tonight. We're already hitting my 15-minute mark on my videos. But I wanted to discuss these two statements. They bear very heavily on the case, especially considering that Joe recants these statements not too much longer after the trials. So we'll talk about that more in the next video. Until then, don't forget to subscribe to me here on YouTube. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Mama Phoenix 6, and boogie on over to the About page here on my channel. You'll find everything from my blog to my Pinterest boards to my Facebook fan page. Thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you soon.